sponsors, members, and guests. My name is Steve Roach, and I am the current chair of the Chamber, and I'm also the president at UMass Memorial Marlborough Hospital and Health Alliance Clinton Hospital. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome all of you to our annual meeting today. Quarter 9 495 Regional Chamber has so many wonderful members and generous supporters of this business organization. It is my pleasure to recognize today's sponsors and supporters of the annual meeting. I think we're good. We're just waiting for our speaker here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to thank our sponsors, but what I want to do is when I read your name, please stand, and I'm going to ask the audience, which sometimes doesn't always work, please hold your applause until after we read the whole list, because we do have a long list today, and we're very grateful to all of our sponsors here. Our presenting sponsor for 4 consecutive years is Unibank. Our partnership sponsor is St. Mary's Credit Union. And we have 23 contributing sponsors. We have Arturo's Restaurante, Leo Casey, B2B CFO, Berkshire Bank, Central One Retirement and Investment Center, Clinton Savings Bank, Cold Harbor Brewing Company, Cox Tutoring Group, Great Wolf Lodge New England, Hot Works Northborough, Karen and Law Music, Mark's Moving and Storage, Middlesex Savings Bank, National Aviation Academy New England, Nichols College, Oak Tree Insurance Agency, OmniStar Solutions LLC, Salmon Health and Retirement, San Ramon Services, School of Rock Northborough, Spark Cleaning Services, Synergy Wellness Center, Webster 5, and Work Central. We also have our program flyer sponsor, Curry Printing. And at this point, please share a round of applause for this support. Before I introduce this morning's guest speaker, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some special guests and supporters. From the town of Westboro, we have the Community Development Director, Fred Lenardo, Westboro Economic Development Coordinator, Mark Zeff, Westboro Cable TV for taping our event today, and Andy Weigel of Andy Weigel Photography as the Chamber's photographer. Let's give them a round of applause. And finally, we always love to do this to our new members and any guests who are first-time attenders of our events. We ask that you all stand and be recognized as a first-time member of the Chamber or a guest here today to join us. All right. I have the pleasure this morning of introducing our guest speaker, Commissioner Kimberly Roy. She's joining us this morning. Jumping down, sorry about that. It's a lot of reading this morning. I had to. Commissioner Roy was appointed to the Cannabis Control Commission in July 2021 by former Governor Charlie Baker. Since then, Commissioner Roy has worked on several notable projects, including a partnership with the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, AAA Northeast, and additional stakeholders to create and implement Shifting Gears, a curriculum to educate teens on the risk of cannabis-impaired driving, the first of its kind in the nation. Commissioner Roy is passionate about educating the public about responsible consumption and youth prevention, has penned several op-eds to this end. She conducts community outreach to senior citizens, local public health organizations, and other constituents. She is an advocate for cannabis research and public education funding, as well as removing barriers to veterans' access to medical marijuana. Currently, Commissioner Roy serves as a duly elected secretary for the Commission and oversees the work of the agency's Host Community Agreement Working Group, which reviewed and drafted the Commission's HCA regulations to comply with Chapter 180 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to equity in the cannabis industry. She is also the liaison to the research subcommittee of the Cannabis Advisory Council. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to the stage for Commissioner Roy.
Everybody hear me okay? Thank you, Steve, for that kind introduction. I want to thank Karen Chapman for inviting me. I guess I was, you had someone set to go and it was a last minute, so I'm glad to be here with you today. I want to also thank Dave Bagden. He's one of your members. He publishes The Community Advocate, and he's not here today, but I want to thank him. I go back with Dave a long time when my time at the Sheriff's Department. The Community Advocate is such a great resource for your area, so thank you all. I'm excited to be here today. I love the chambers. You guys do amazing work. You're the backbone, right? Small business. And so I always say know your audience, and I give this talk a lot, but mostly I go around and I talk to older Americans about cannabis because they have a lot of questions. They're very kind of curious, if you will. But know your audience, and you're business people, so I want to come to you today from a business perspective. And I want to, before I get into my slide deck, I got a lot of information I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to try to go as fast as I can because I know you have awards coming up. But I'm no longer the secretary, I'm the treasurer now at the commission, so we re-elect each year, so I just wanted to say that. But I want you to just think about the cannabis industry for a little bit from your perspective as business people. How many of you here sell a good product? Anybody have a product that they sell? Okay. So think about if you had your product was cannabis as opposed to the product that you sell. So we're a $6 billion plus industry in Massachusetts. We're an economic driver. I'm going to go over all those numbers with you. But imagine in your business, if you didn't have bankruptcy protections, if you didn't have banking, then you could work with your local bank on a small business loan. If you had something called 280E in your taxes, when you filed your taxes recently, that you couldn't deduct ordinary business expenses. Imagine having your product not being able to get it from across state lines, not being able to have it mailed or shipped over federal waters. That's cannabis because it's still federally illegal. It's a Schedule 1. That means it's considered on par with heroin. Even though 2/3 of the United States of America, there's access to legalized cannabis, whether it's medical or adult use, it's still a Schedule 1. Now, you may have read recently over the last couple of weeks that the Biden administration has put forth proposals, that the DEA came forward, and they're going to look at rescheduling it to a 3, which would basically make it on par with ketamine and some other drugs, almost like prescription-worthy, if you will. So that's in the process. The federal government has opened up a portal for comment at this time, but imagine your business not being able to deduct business expenses, go to your local bank, have bankruptcy protections, sending the products across state lines, or have it shipped to you. And yesterday, and I have a slide on this, I spent the day in Martha's Vineyard because there's a supply chain issue there, and they're surrounded by federal waters. So imagine how tricky that is. So those are just some of the headwinds that people who have invested their life savings to open a cannabis business, and it costs about $1 million. You know, you see these dispensaries, I know you see the billboards, I see them too, and yeah, there's a lot of them. But it costs about $1 million in a lot of years to stand one up. And with no banking, you have to get investors, so you have to go around, and sometimes it's predatory lending, and you have to be careful. So those are just some of the things. I wanted to set it up from that angle. So when we go through these numbers, and they're really impressive, think about those headwinds and the challenges that people in the cannabis space have had to deal with. And despite it all, we're a huge economic driver for the Commonwealth, hundreds of millions of dollars in excise tax and revenue. So having said that, I'll get going on my slides. Okay, so the mission of the Cannabis Control Commission is to honor the will of the voters by safely, equitably, and effectively implementing and administering the laws enabling access to medical and adult use marijuana. Well, what does that mean? And I'll go through the timeline. Well, it was the will of the voters that said we want cannabis in the legalized, safe, regulated in Massachusetts. So what did the legislature do? They rewrote the ballot initiative a little bit. Then they had to stand up an industry and an agency. So there's 5 commissioners. I'm one of 5. As Steve said, I was appointed by former Governor Charlie Baker. Each commissioner has a 5-year term, and we, by statute, can only get reappointed one more time. So the other commissioners, I sit in the public health seat, and that was based on my, Governor Baker called me former State Senator Commissioner Jen Flanagan. You might know Jen Flanagan. She served before me in this role, and then she moved on, and Governor Baker had called me based on my work at the Sheriff's Department. I helped co-author a substance use disorder program called Face to Face, I went around with the Sheriff's Department and presented it to over 300,000 young people. I wanted to keep your children, let them make good decisions, because working in a jail and a correctional facility, I saw firsthand what the opioid epidemic did, what fentanyl did to destroy lives and to destroy people. And over 80% of people incarcerated have substance use disorder. So what can we do? We can talk to young people to help them make good decisions. So that's what I stand for in research, and I have a lot of initiatives. Supporting veterans is another one that I've done. So you can see these are the commissioners. And we all have different appointing authorities. There's one from the governor, one from the attorney general, one from the treasurer, and then the other two commissioners are a three-way appointment. So we also have a leadership team. When the commission first started, it only had a handful of employees, and now we're about 140 employees at the commission. So let's just talk a little bit about the timeline. In November 2008, that's when the ball got rolling on cannabis. There was a decriminalization of it. In 2012, that's when voters legalized medical use cannabis. And in 2015, the first medical marijuana treatment center opened in Massachusetts. In 2016, you may remember this, question 4. It didn't pass by a lot, but it did pass. 53 to 47%. Massachusetts became the first state east of the Mississippi to legalize adult use cannabis. Fast forward, okay, the voters spoke. Now what? So in 2017, Governor Baker signed Chapter 55, the Acts of 2017, into law. Then the inaugural commission was stood up by the legislature in 2017. In 2018, they had a lot of work to do. The first cohort of commissioners, they had to think about it, stand up an industry and an agency and write, there's thousands of pages between statutes and regulations around cannabis in Massachusetts. And then in 2018, the first license applications were accepted. You might remember this. This was kind of big news. In November 2018, there was 2 that opened. There was one in Leicester and one in Northampton, and the lines were like, whoo, around the block and down the road. That, I believe, he's the mayor of Northampton. He was making that purchase at Meta, and I think there's a museum out there, so that purchase is like in that museum up there. I didn't know there was a cannabis museum, but anyway. So let's talk about medical use, because really there's 2 buckets, right? There's medical use marijuana, and then there's adult use marijuana. So by the numbers, you guys, folks are business people, right? So by the numbers, there's 106 medical treatment centers in Massachusetts. There's one in every county. There's almost 100,000 folks that are certified medical marijuana use patients in Massachusetts. There's over 6,000 active caregivers. Well, what does that mean? So my mom, I was talking about my mom, she has an autoimmune disease. So her doctor certified her to be a patient. So my mother doesn't want to go to a dispensary. She's 82. She's going to kill me. She's 81. She'll be 82 in August. She doesn't want to go to a dispensary. So I am her caregiver. So I got certified by the commission. I can go and purchase on her behalf. And what are some of the advantages of being a medical patient? Well, there's a 20% tax on cannabis. So when you go in and you buy any adult use, between the sales tax, the excise tax, and the local option tax, you're talking 20%. For patients, there's 0 tax on their cannabis. We have 329 registered physicians, 118 nurse practitioners, and 1 physician's assistant. And that number troubles me, because if you have almost 100,000 patients, and you have just over 400 providers, that's kind of a tough ratio. There's an inequity there. So we're hoping as more clinicians learn about the endocannabinoid system. It wasn't taught in medical school. It is now, and the benefits that cannabis can provide. And you'll know the harms as well. We want to know the harms and the benefits. So I'm hoping more providers will come online eventually as time goes on. 69.3 million in MTC sales, that's medical treatment sales, and 1.2 billion in MTC sales since the first one opened. So that's just on the medical side. Wait till you see the adult numbers. So as I said, every county in Massachusetts you have access to a medical treatment center in every county. Okay, to become a qualifying patient, they have to be a certified provider by the commission. So my mother was lucky; her primary care physician happened to be certified. But it's, with only 400, chances are your primary care doc is not certified, and you have to find one online. to get certified. There's qualifying conditions in the statute, but there's some broad ones. So, you know, you hear folks, I take it for sleep, I take a gummy for sleep or anxiety. And so a lot of folks are really experimenting, if you will, to help treat different ailments. Okay, qualifying patients. So adult use cannabis. So it feels like people say there's one on every corner, but there's not. They're not like Dunkin' Donuts. There's not one on every corner. There's over 600 that have been commenced operations, open their doors, but those are different license types, and I'm going to go over them all. It's not just retailers. There's numerous different license types, and I'm going to talk to you about some of those. Worcester County is really a hub for cannabis. You can see there's 130, let's say it's a fluid list, 139 as of today that have opened their doors in Worcester County, and it really is an economic driver. Think about when you drive through and you see them, a lot of them are now old factories that were abandoned, buildings that were dormant. It's really been an economic driver. There's over 20,000 jobs that have been created in the cannabis industry, and we'll go over the tax revenue with you as well. Okay, so if you want to buy cannabis, what are the rules? You got to be 21. You cannot use cannabis in public places. I know we smell it, and I know, but it is still illegal. And you smell it. I know nothing makes me more angry than I smell it in the car in front of me, because that's illegal, and it makes me furious because they're putting themselves and everyone else at risk if they are impaired with cannabis. Just like alcohol, it's illegal to have an open container, and it's illegal to drive across. As I alluded to, it's illegal to cross state lines with your cannabis. You can't mail it. You can't get on the ferry with it, the plane with it. That's in Logan. I know they, you know, recently somebody had like, you know, a suitcase full. That's a big no-no. But anyway, so okay, and you can't sell it by mail. If you rent, if you are a tenant, you have to. Your landlord can set all their own rules around consumption in the building that they own. Okay, and then there's limits. Okay, so under our regulations, you can limit it to 5.5 milligrams of THC in a serving, and you're allowed to carry 1 ounce on you. You have 1 ounce. Okay. Let's see, and then at home you can have 10, and then you need to obviously lock it up. Unfortunately, not that kids eat flour, but it's the gummies, and you can research that online. There really has been a big uptick in accidental overingestion. Toddlers don't. Well, they look like gummy bears. They look like gummy, you know. So what I say is lock yourself up if you're gonna, you know, you're not using, especially if you have young, you know, children around, and if you have teenagers and you don't want them experimenting with it, really lock it up really good, because they have no way to get into it. So somebody asked me what different amounts look like, so we put them on the side there so you can have some understanding of that. Okay. So you can grow your own cannabis. It's really tricky though. It's really hard to grow your own cannabis, but that is available to you. You can grow up to 6 cannabis plants. And for one person, if there's 2 of you, you can grow a dozen cannabis plants. And it's tricky though. You have to have the right lighting, the right, it's really a science. I've been to many cultivation sites, and those cost millions of dollars to set up. It's like NASA. It's really a science. It's like every room is temperature controlled. The plants, there's a mother room, a bedroom, a flower room. There's different rooms for the different life cycle of the plant. They have to be under lights. Sometimes it's 18 hours a day. Another phase is 12 hours a day. Certain kind of lights. You can't use most pesticides in Massachusetts. That's illegal. We want to keep you safe, so you know your cannabis is free of pesticides. And then, you know, if you are going to home cultivate, you know, obviously you want to make sure that you, you know, you talk to an electrician to make sure that, you know, you don't want to put yourself at risk for a fire. So I mentioned the different license types around cannabis, and there's numerous ones. So everybody kind of identifies with the retailers because that's what they see. And then there's cultivation sites, and those are indoor or outdoor. And I'm really glad to see outdoor, and the Globe wrote a story about this yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw it, that the number of cannabis cultivators, outdoor farmers is growing. Most of them tend to be out in Western Mass, are outdoor cultivators. Obviously, Massachusetts doesn't have the most conducive climate. We can't grow year-round, so it's a little tricky. There's craft cooperatives. That's almost like the cranberry industry, where you have a co-op. Those really haven't taken off though, in all honesty, and I think we need to revisit that. Micro businesses was a license type created for a smaller economic investment. The commission, and I've advocated for this, we're making tweaks on this license type. It's too restrictive, you can't scale up, but it is one. Manufacturers, those are the gummies, the chocolate bars, the everything, all those products you see, those are made by product manufacturers. There's strict regulations for them. Everything has to be food grade and stainless steel, sanitized. So everything is really highly, highly regulated, I want you to know. Obviously, you're all familiar with the dispensaries. The research license type, and I really feel that the future of cannabis lies in research. The plant is thousands of years old, and we don't know all the benefits or the harms. And we really need public investments, and other states have done that, Florida, Michigan, California. And Massachusetts is so set up to be a leader, because think about our hospitals and our universities and our life sciences, and think about the infrastructure we have in Massachusetts to be a global leader in cannabis. And the reason we're not is because of that federal illegality that I talked about, because UMass and other places can't touch the plant because they can't risk their federal dollars. So we're really limited on what we can do. But we do have a research license type. I think there's inherent problems in that, because you have to share your proprietary information. Who's going to do that, right? Nobody. So we don't really have anybody. I think we need to tweak that license type. We have transporters. How does it get from point A to B? So we have different transporters that go B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer. For the B2C and for the B2B, there's strict regulations. You have to wear body cams. You have to have a camera in the car. The car has to be approved by the commission. There's manifests, there's GPS, there's strict protocols. There's 2 agents in a car, but the commission, and that was done for public safety, but there's really been, knock on wood, no major incidents around delivery. So I think we're gonna relegate it down to 1 drive, 1 agent in the car, because all the delivery operators, and that's an equity license type, that folks that have been in communities that had higher arrest rates or incarceration say to us it's just not feasible to have 2 agents in the car, and we've had no incidents. So we are looking at that right now. We have independent testing labs, and we have about 14 of them. So all of the cannabis that you purchase has been tested for pathogens and pesticides and heavy metals to make sure that what you are ingesting is free of all of that. And how do we do that? We have 14 certified independent testing labs that test the products. I've advocated in my capacity, I think we need what's called a standards lab or a reference lab, and that would be a state-run lab, because that's a little conflicted, because you have labs that we regulate, that we randomly inspect and visit and write up for notices of deficiency, and then we have it as a vendor to like oversee and police the industry. So I've said this publicly, I'm not talking out of school. I think there's conflicts in that, and I think we need a state-run lab, an independent lab that can, oversee the industry. But in the meantime, we do make sure that our independent testing labs are compliant. We do inspections, scheduled and random, so we want you to know your products are safe. Delivery, I talked about that. And then this one is like the shiny new object. It's social consumption, and I'm sure you've read about it. The cannabis cafes, and there's some out west. And so we had the regulations baked in, no pun intended, but there were problems. Secretary Galvin had identified problems that communities, there was no mechanism for them to opt in. So in the Chapter 180 legislation that passed recently, they tweaked that, and now the commission is in the process of drafting social consumption regulations. Now, we have open meeting law, right? If anybody's in municipal government or elected here, you know there's open meeting law. So there's 5 commissioners, and only 2 of us can talk at a time. And if more than 2 of us talk behind closed doors, we're breaking the law. So only 2 commissioners can sit on that working group. I'm not one of them. I'll be honest with you. I have, public health and public safety concerns around social consumption sites. About paired driving, and Steve talked about the curriculum I helped, get in Massachusetts to help young people make good decisions behind the wheel around cannabis. So I'll be asking a lot of tough questions around social consumption, but it is a license type where folks can go in and they can can purchase their cannabis on site and consume it there. Okay, revenue, the numbers. From 2018 to present, and we've done over $6 billion with a B, $6 billion in sales. Now you add the medical and you're over $7 billion in sales for cannabis. The retail sales in 2023 were $1.56 billion, so over $1 billion a year in sales are being transacted in Massachusetts. Here's the tax revenue. So state and local taxes since cannabis adult use became legal is over $1.1 billion in revenue to the Commonwealth. Think about that. Now that outpaces alcohol. Cannabis outpaces alcohol for excise tax. Now think about all the places you can buy alcohol in Massachusetts. A lot, right? Hotels, and restaurants, and package stores, and think about there's only over 300 dispensaries, and they're outpacing alcohol and excise tax. So where does the money go? It does not go to the Cannabis Control Commission. It goes to what's called the Marijuana Regulation Fund, and that's under the legislature, and they appropriate it, and there's buckets per statute. And I just want to touch on some of them. They go to public health and substance addiction programs, community empowerment programs, reentry grant programs. One of my favorites, it goes back to community colleges. How great is that? That's the tax money giving back to the communities. And then agricultural oversight of hemp. So this is a fun fact I love to share. Cannabis is the top crop in Massachusetts now. It outpaces cranberries. We love cranberries. No disrespect to our friends that grow cranberries. But it's the top crop in Massachusetts now. And then Leafly reported that cannabis crops are worth $361 million versus $66 million in 2021. And also, this is another little fun fact, that cannabis nationwide outsells chocolate now. Can you believe that one? So here's the map I asked for this slide, and I wanted to show the landscape and how things are changing in New England and quite frankly across the country. The map on the left is 2018. Everybody in yellow, it was not legal. In Massachusetts in 2018, adult use became legal. Fast forward, everybody's in green except New Hampshire, but if you're following in the paper, New Hampshire is in the process of, I think they're close now. Live free or die, they want to make sure they take their time, I guess, I don't know. But our friends in New Hampshire are in the process of negotiating legislation around that. Social equity program. So Massachusetts, as I shared with you, was the first state in the country to legalize adult use. But it was also the first state in the country to mandate social equity in our program. It's in the law. We are mandated to do that. What does that mean? We had a study commenced that looked at all the communities in Massachusetts, and it looked at the incarceration rates and the arrest rates due to marijuana prohibition. And it identified 30 communities that, Worcester being one of them, Springfield, Holyoke, Bedford, Fall River, different census tracts in Boston. Let's see, Southbridge is another one, Fitchburg, I'm trying to think of the ones close by, that had a higher rates of arrest and incarceration. So what do we do about that? So we create programs to help people that live in that community, grow up in that community. We have other parameters. If you were criminally justice involved, or you had a parent or a spouse that was, we avail services to you. We don't guarantee a license, but what we do is we provide free technical training services on, let's say, predatory lending, on building a business, getting through the licensing process. The licensing process is a big deal, and it takes a long time. And the commission, when it first started, took months to get, not acknowledgement, but to get the ball rolling out of the queue. And now we respond in a matter of days. But we also ask for more information. You have to provide all your financials. We put you through background checks, fingerprinting, everything to make sure that people that own the industry, we don't want any unsavory folks running these cannabis, facilities, if you will. So it is really a rigorous process. What else does this avail you to? You get some fees waived, metric fees waived, some licensing fees are waived, and you get prioritization in the queue. Okay, that just talks about that. So recent updates, things are constantly moving and shaking in the cannabis industry. In 2022, we had an exclusivity period. That means only folks of color and certain groups that live in those communities have exclusive priority to delivery. And when social consumption starts, there's a 3-year window and then the commission, by statute, we're going to reevaluate it next year and decide whether we want to expand it for more years. Colorado did that, and I think they went to 7 years. So we're going to be, if we haven't really met our mission, then the commissioners will take a vote and decide if we want to expand that. In 2022, Chapter 180 was signed. So when the legislature stood up the laws around cannabis, they let it breathe. They didn't touch it for a while. But then we heard, and there were issues, and you guys execute contracts all the time. You're business people. For cannabis, it's by law. You have to have what's called a host community agreement. So if you want to open one in Worcester, you have to meet with the city. You have to come to an agreement on things like the hours of operation, what you can do. But it's called a host community agreement. And by the previous law, the commission didn't have oversight. We just checked the box, we had it. We didn't do a deep dive on it. But we were hearing about contracts of adhesion, and these were really onerous in the playing field, so the operators had no negotiation power, and the communities had all of it. And there was I've read a lot of them. There were some crazy things. There was community impact fees, which were charged, that had nothing to do with the operation of a cannabis facility. So a cannabis facility is buying electric vehicles for a community. Why? Like, there was some crazy things going on. So anyway, we clamped down on that. There's a new sheriff in town, if you will, with host community agreements. The commission now oversees them for compliance. If a community, a town, or a city charges a cannabis entity a community impact fee, they have to show a demonstrable nexus that it's impacted the goods and services of that town, and it has to be itemized, it has to be shown in a receipt. I don't know if you read recently, Caroline's Cannabis in Uxbridge, it's right where I live in Sutton, so it's not far from my house. She sued the town of Uxbridge for her to get her community impact fees back. And they settled, and she got over $1 million back because the town of Uxbridge, and I love Uxbridge, that's part of my walking route, they couldn't demonstrate where the funds went. And so, and that's the best of my knowledge. So they settled on that amount. Other cannabis licensees are suing communities. Some of it will go in court. And a lot of these are cases of first impression. There's no case law, right? So this is a new industry, so we're all learning together. Okay, so I talked about social consumption. Okay, sale of seeds and clones. So you can buy seeds at a dispensary, and you can home grow, like I said. Or you can buy what's called clones, and those are the immature plants, 6 inches or less. If you don't want to start from the seed, you can buy the clones. Okay, rescheduling of cannabis. I'm sure you've read about it in the news or heard about it. So this is a big deal. And what will this mean? And remember when I said there was like no banking and there's 280E where you can't deduct ordinary business expenses. So a rescheduling should help ease some of these hurdles, if you will, for cannabis entrepreneurs across the country, not only in Massachusetts. So this is kind of a big deal. I'm really curious to see how far the federal government will go in oversight and how it will impact us on a local level. So that's to be determined on that one. Okay, hemp versus marijuana. I get this question a lot. What's the difference between hemp and marijuana? So hemp, if it's 0.3 or less, it's considered in THC, which is the psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. It's considered hemp. If it's over 0.3, it's considered marijuana. Now, they come from the same plant, so it's crazy. They all come from the cannabis plant, but it depends on the level of THC. So if it's 0.3 or more, it's under the auspices of the Cannabis Control Commission. It's considered cannabis marijuana. If it's 0.3 or less, then it's under MDAR, Massachusetts Department of Agriculture, Recreation, I don't know the whole title, but it's MDAR, and they oversee it. And it's federally, and why is that? Because in 2018, the United States Congress passed what's called the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill recognized industrial hemp and hemp as a legal commodity. So this is why, and it's under MDAR and not us. And but I was in the news recently because we had a public meeting, and I'm going to testify on Tuesday. There's a hemp bill in front of the legislature, so I'm going to testify on behalf of the commission and talk about hemp. And what's happening is, and I called it gas station week, because you're able to go into a gas station, a convenience store, a smoke shop, and buy these products. And our licensees are getting harmed because they're bound by our laws and our statutes, and they have to make sure everyone is 21. And your license you could be 100 years old, and your license is going to get checked multiple times when you go into a dispensary. But here we have young people going in and being able to buy these products that you don't know what's in it. And I had a lab, one of our independent testing labs, test thousands of them. They had emailed me, and they said there are ingredients in there they can't even identify. There's contaminants, ingredients. They call it a Frankenstein product because they don't know what's in it. So I called a gas station weed and a public menace, and it got picked up. And so I know that AMDAR and DPH, Department of Public Health, have been working for a long time because it is illegal. But it's crazy because it's illegal, but they were seltzers, and I'm kind of giving you a little inside baseball now, seltzers in package stores, and it's like, okay, not my monkey, not my circus. Like, does the ABCC cover it? Do we cover it? Does AMDAR cover it? Everybody's trying to figure out, does the local boards of health cover it? So we're trying to figure that out, and I'm so grateful to DPH and AMDAR. They issued, and the governor, they sent out a bulletin that all of those products had to get pulled off the shelves. So they are now off the shelves in Massachusetts. And if they do come back, they should come back in our medical treatment centers and our marijuana establishments, because you want to know what's in them. Some of these products, when I worked for the Sheriff's Department, I did research on it, have acetone in it. That's the stuff that you take fingernail polish remover off, or formaldehyde. You don't want anybody to ingest that. So we want to make sure our products are safe and tested. So there's a lot of talk right now about hemp versus marijuana. Lastly, I'll say on that, Congress right now has a bill to close the loophole on that, whether it passes or not, we'll see. And cannabis is crazy. It's like, it's not down party lines, right? It's like, cannabis makes the strangest bedfellows. You have Republicans and Democrats agreeing on certain things with cannabis and not, so it's just a funny thing. Okay, the driver's ed. I made it my mission to help young people make good decisions, like I did with the Sheriff's Department. We talked about the myths and the facts of the opioid epidemic. And so when I became a commissioner, it was brought to my attention that there was no curriculum in the driver's ed around cannabis impairment. Zero, nationwide. A lot about alcohol, 0.08, we all know that. So I said to Governor Baker, I said, Gov, I found this out, I'm going to work on this. And he said, okay. He said, make sure you let the Lieutenant Governor know what you're doing. That's what he told me. So I did, and she was wonderful. She was a real partner for me in this. And I put together stakeholders, AAA Northeast. I had scholars from UMass, a police chief from Newton, another commissioner. We put together this great group, and AAA had a curriculum built for health classes, and I met with someone higher up at AAA, and I asked them if they would donate it to Massachusetts, and they agreed, and we tailored it, and we tailored it for our laws in the Commonwealth. And last December, I announced it with Lieutenant Governor Polito and the Registrar of Motor Vehicles, Colleen Ogilvie, at the Worcester R&B, and we were the first state in the nation to implement this mandatory in all the driving schools. Over 50,000 students saw this curriculum last year to make good decisions. And it's not dare, and it doesn't stigmatize. It's evidence-based. It was reviewed by Brown University, the first iteration, and we want young people just to make good decisions. If you feel different, you're going to drive different, and we want you to make good decisions behind the wheel. So that's what we did there. So I'm in transportation. That's why I got home late last night. So we were in the vineyard. The commissioners were in the vineyard in the Cannabis Control Commission yesterday, and I'm almost done. I think it's like my last slide or second to last slide. And what's happening, remember I told you federal waters, right? So you can't ship it, you can't fly it. And so the vineyard has two marijuana dispensaries, and one is vertically integrated and they grow, and the other one is just a dispensary. So the one that grows the cannabis had announced they're winding down operations, okay? So now, the person that grows it is no longer able to grow it, and you can't transport it to the island. And we have over 200 medical patients on the island of Martha's Vineyard right now. And the inventory is going to run out. By the end of the summer, it'll run out. So that has public health and public safety consequences, because people have to go to the illicit market. And, you know, people testified yesterday that they've seen fentanyl in illicit market pre-rolls, and so we don't want that. So, but we have that rub, so we've been in talks with the Coast Guard right now, the DEA, and we're trying to come up with a solution. And our regulations that were done in 2018 ban the transport over water. So here we are, we have an island in Massachusetts that's going to run out of legalized cannabis in a matter of months. And what do? So we went yesterday, we had a public hearing, so it's been in the paper, the commission's being sued by one of the entities, so we're in settlement talks right now, and with all solutions are on the table of what we can do to help Martha's Vineyard. We don't want to see this supply chain crash. This will be highly problematic. So. And it was pouring rain in Martha's Vineyard, so it was not a good day in Martha's Vineyard. But anyway, so that's my talk about the industry. I'd be more than happy to take a question or two, but I want to thank you so much for allowing me to spend my morning with you. Thank you so much.
So do we have any questions? Anybody want to?
And I have no samples.
We were thinking about we came up with the idea of submarine. You said over water, but you go underwater.
Oh, true. Yeah. Okay, do you want the mic or do we?
No.
Okay, you're good.
Good morning.
Thanks for the presentation. I'm just kind of curious, what's the vision of the commission over the next 3 to 5 years? You know, with cannabis, number of licenses, whether this is continued consolidation.
Right.
Taxes.
No, that's a great question. So I failed to mention that Massachusetts has caps too, license caps. So you can only have 3 licenses of a certain license type. But why would we do that? Because we were afraid out-of-state folks would just come in and gobble up the market and just dominate it. And we wanted people from communities that were harmed to be able to get in. So there's that. So we want to make sure we want to help. Now, having said that, this is capitalism, right? So we can't overregulate to the point where we put freezes on licenses. The market has to work itself out, unfortunately. And we've had some close, right? We've had over 30 either surrender or wind down operations. Because, you know, if you have a small town and there's 11 of them in one town, that makes it tricky too, right? There's a saturated market there. So our goal is to reevaluate license types. I'm of the belief that we don't shut the books on the regulations, we keep them open so we can be responsive, things change. The federal government's going to have a big say in the future of what the commission does if it gets rescheduled and what they require. And will you get a prescription now? Who knows? You know, I don't know the answer to that. You maybe go to your provider and they may be prescribing at some point. So it remains to be seen. In the meantime, we try to be responsive to the license types, whether it's delivery. We want to ensure that we have a safe market, a safely regulated market. So those are our goals. Our pillars are public health, public safety, and public welfare. So we always keep those at the forefront, and we just kind of stay nimble to what's happening in the market. So thank you for that. Good morning.
Thanks for being here. So something that I'm really curious about, it's not federally legal, and you showed some staggering numbers of what Massachusetts brought in for tax revenue. Why doesn't the federal government want their hands in that, right? So we all pay our taxes every year, hopefully, and you know, X bucket goes to Massachusetts and the rest goes to the federal government. Why are they missing out on that revenue?
So there's something called the Controlled Substances Act, and marijuana was put into that as a Schedule 1, meaning it has no redeeming value, it has no medical value in the eyes of the federal government. So then states started to kind of just buck that, and I think Colorado was the first. And then you had the full memorandum come out, which says, okay, we know you're doing it, we're not going to really enforce it. And then the full memorandum was rescinded, and people didn't know what to think. But fast forward, we have 2/3 of the states that have some form of legalized cannabis, adult use or medical use, and that number continues to grow. So I think the federal government is realizing, hey, maybe we want a piece of this pie, I don't know. But there is, I mean, think about just Massachusetts alone, $7 billion in sales and over $1.1 billion in just the adult use and excise tax. That's considerable. So I'm sure they are going to want a piece of the pie eventually. My guess is, I would think, for sure.
Great. Well, thank you, Commissioner Roy.
Thank you.
All right, so now it's my pleasure to proceed with the rest of today's program and begin with our awards presentation. I just want to say for those who are here and receiving an award, we will be doing pictures at the end of the event in that back corner, so please don't run away. We will do it there so we can recognize everybody. Since 2003, the Chamber has been recognizing members with awards for their excellence in business, leadership, and community contributions, and it is now my pleasure to present our first award. Our first award is the Visionary Award. The Visionary Award is presented to a member for their perseverance in innovation, meeting business challenges and adversities, and have significantly expanded or revitalized their existing business. This award has only been awarded 19 times, and today will be its 20th presentation. What started as a chance meeting between an entrepreneur and an avid home brewer has become an incredible success story of the first brewery to open and expand in Westboro. In 2015, Will Oliveira cashed out his retirement and 401k to open up one of the smallest tap rooms in the state in a strip mall on Milk Street in Westboro. For 7 years, Cold Harbor Brewing continued to grow with their followers as other breweries in the region were rising and falling. In 2022, Cold Harbor Brewing had outgrown their tiny headquarters, and Will and Jen hatched a plan to expand the business in a very big way. They purchased land on 66 Otis Street in Westboro and built a 16,500 square foot state-of-the-art facility featuring their brewery, a restaurant, function room, and outside patio in its beautiful space. Since opening their brand new location in August of 23, the brewery and restaurant has quickly become the hottest new destination in the region, offering extraordinary craft beer and food, along with serving as a vital hub for connection, celebration, and enjoyment of our local community, as well as some of our chamber events. We want to make sure we get that in there. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure we present the 2024 Visionary Award to Will and Jen Oliveira, the owners of Cold Harbor Brewing. I'm going to invite Jen Oliveira to come forward today to accept the award because Will is unfortunately in Scotland on a golf trip. This award. So Jen, please come forward and accept on behalf. All right, moving down, our next award is the Large Business of the Year. And that is, our next award being presented today is the Large Business of the Year. Founded in 1952, Central One Federal Credit Union has grown into one of the largest not-for-profit federal credit unions in central Massachusetts with approximately 39,000 members. They have been recognized as an award-winning and trusted financial institution for the last 4 consecutive years by Best of Central Mass Community Choice Awards and Top Lender the last 3 consecutive years by Banker and Tradesman. Central One is a generous community supporter to local schools, nonprofits, and community organizations, awarding $200,000 in donations last year. They are the only chamber member in history to receive the School Business Partnership Gold Award for achieving record levels of nominations and Champion of Education Awards for their generous support to all the schools in our region. And since joining the chamber 28 years ago, they have generously stepped forward as the title sponsor of our annual golf tournament for numerous years. If you haven't signed up, it's next week. We're looking for donations and anything else you can do to help us on that. It's a chamber day outside. It's been beautiful. And for the golf tournament for numerous years and fund our scholarship program and our continuous champion supporters of the Chamber's signature and community events. Chamber members, it is with great honor that I bestow the 2024 Large Business of the Year Award to Central One Federal Credit Union, and I invite Devin Lyon, President and CEO, to come forward to accept the award and ask for those representing the credit union, please stand to be recognized at this time. next award celebrates our small business of the year. Since Chris Pacutis was a teenager, she knew she wanted to be in horticulture. She earned her BS degree in horticulture from UMass Amherst and her MBA from UMass Boston. She has been the owner of Mugford's Flower Shop in Westboro for over 30 years, specializing in weddings, sympathy, birthdays, proms, and corporate events. Her outstanding floral arrangements has earned her the title of the best florist in the region for numerous years. What separates Chris from other florists is that she lives with her work, literally. During the week, she and her husband Paul live on the original farm, growing many of the flowers. Weekends, she tends to the production gardens at their country house in Barrie, growing more flowers and cutting greens for the shop. Along with running the shop, she teaches design classes, runs the tractor, one of her favorite parts of the job, and in her spare time, roots for the socks and the hats. As a member of the Chamber for 30 years, Chris has generously donated her beautiful arrangements for our special events and has been an active member and contributor of the Westboro Rotary. Chamber members, please join me in congratulating Chris Pacutis, owner of Mugford's Flower Shop, as the Chamber's 2024 Small Business of the Year. Chris, please come forward. All right. I'm getting a break shortly, so that's good. All right, the next award to be given is the Young Business Professional of the Year Award, and I invite Heather Forchilli, the current chair of the Chamber's Young Professional Business Network, better known as HYPE, to the podium to present this award.
Thank you, Steve. And good morning, everybody. All right. The Outstanding Young Business Professional of the Year Award is presented to a Chamber member in recognition of their leadership, professional accomplishments, and volunteer service exemplifying the mission of the Young Business Professionals group of the Chamber, also known as HYPE. Casey Goodhine has worked in hospitality roles for over 20 years and is currently the marketing and event manager for Flying Dreams Brewery. In addition to her position with the brewery, Casey has been running her own successful business for the last 6 years as an independent fashion retailer for Lululemon. Previously, she held the leadership role of Director of Programs and Events for the Chamber and created and launched many new and successful events. As a volunteer for the Chamber, she is very actively involved as an ambassador, a member of the HYPE Steering Committee, and Business Forward Females Program. She volunteers for community service projects, as long as it's not raining, and has generously donated items to her local food pantry, Toys for Tots, and clothing to nonprofit organizations. Chamber members, it's my great honor I present the 2024 Young Business Professional of the Year Award to Casey Goodhine. So unfortunately, Casey is unable to join us due to her pre-planned vacation to visit Mickey Mouse, but we will be sure to present her with the award when she returns. Now it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Pam Stevens, the co-founder of the Chamber's Business Forward Females Program and current chair of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Heather. At an awards ceremony held this past March, the Chamber honored 2 outstanding female leaders for their professional accomplishments during Business Forward Females International Women's Day celebration. Our first award was presented to Michelle Power, the founder and CEO of Positively for Pink, as our 2024 Business Forward Females Leadership Award recipient. Michelle established a nonprofit in 2018 with the mission of supporting low-income, underserved women in Massachusetts suffering from breast cancer. Since starting her nonprofit, she has awarded nearly $400,000 in grants to women suffering from breast cancer due to her outstanding fundraising events, partnerships with business, and marketing activities. What separates Michelle's organization from other nonprofits is that Positively for Pink is the only nonprofit in America that supports women who choose either holistic and/or traditional care, and it supports women up to 6 months after their treatment if it's needed. Michelle, please stand so we can recognize you with a round of applause as our 2024 BFF. The second award was given to Melissa Reuter, owner of Yummy Mummy Bakery, as the 2024 Woman-Owned Business of the Year. More than 17 years ago, Melissa started a brownie business in her home kitchen as a single mom with 2-year-old triplets. From 2004 to 2012, she grew her home-based business through her website at farmers markets and fairs, and then started to ship them nationwide. When the business grew to a point where she could no longer operate it out of her home, she made the decision to open her own retail location in Westboro. Today, this woman-owned business has grown her bakery into a $1 million company with a talented staff and an expansive variety of homemade treats. It's now my great pleasure to invite Melissa to please stand to receive a round of applause as our 2024 Woman-Owned Business of the Year.
Our next award honors the Ambassador of the Year. This award recognizes a member for their outstanding volunteer participation in supporting the Chamber and our members. Sonia Discormiers is a Vice President and Business Relationship Manager, my banker at Berkshire Bank, and also a financial wellness coach. She's been in the finance and banking industry for over 2 decades and earned a bachelor's degree in business administration and an MBA from the University of Montreal. That's right, she's from Canada. Clearly, her passion is to help people thrive financially and live their best life. Her other passion has been a high-energy advocate for the Chamber as an ambassador. She attends ribbon cuttings to welcome and congratulate members, facilitates at all Chamber events, recruits new members, mentors new members to help engage them at the Chamber, and even wore a snow woman costume at our holiday snowball to sell raffle tickets. Without a doubt, she is always willing to go above and beyond to support the Chamber. Outside of her work and helping the Chamber, Sonia enjoys watching her daughter play hockey and stays involved in her community to help others. Chamber members, it is with great pleasure that I present the 2024 Ambassador of the Year Award to Sonia Discormier from Berkshire Bank. Sonia, please come forward. Our next award is our coveted Oscar Award, and believe me, it's a weapon that weighs about 25 pounds. This award is very rarely presented, and it really recognizes a member for their lifetime achievement with the Chamber and the participation and the contributions they have made. The recipient of the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award is Henry Tessman, General Manager of the Great Wolf Lodge. Henry has worked in hospitality for over 35 years with various hotel companies, including Marriott, Wyndham, Hilton, and boutique properties. In 2014, he opened the first New England location of the Great Wolf Lodge in Fitchburg and served as the general manager until April 2024. Henry has been an investor, stakeholder, and member of the Chamber for 23 years. His legacy of commitment has included an outstanding volunteer as an ambassador, member of the Tourism and Programs Committee, director of the board for 20 years, and served as our past chair of the board for the Chamber from 2012 to 2013. Whether he recruited new members or sponsors, assisted with event planning, or generously hosted the annual Great Networking Bash at the Great Wolf Lodge, he has been a tremendous supporter and has given generously of his time and talent. Unfortunately, I spoke to Henry this week. He was unable to join us today. He actually has announced that he's leaving our region to open up the Great Wolf Lodge at Foxwoods Casino. We're greatly going to miss meeting him, seeing him, but over the summer, we're gonna have a nice lunch, and I'm gonna present him with our coveted 2024 Oscar Award as our Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's give him a round of applause. Want to stay, or do you want to sit for a little bit? That concludes the official award ceremony, but we're not done, because it is now my honor to recognize and congratulate our member businesses, our wonderful stakeholders of this organization who are celebrating milestone anniversaries with their membership of the Chamber, and it truly is my great honor to recognize them. There are a total of 44 members celebrating milestone anniversaries with us this year. We've included a complete list of all those members in your program flyer, but right now, I have the pleasure to acknowledge the stakeholders that have joined us here today. And it starts with milestone anniversaries with 5 years and then in 5-year increments. When I announce your name, please stand, and all of you remain standing till all the names have been read, and I ask the audience to hold their applause until we're finished. Celebrating 5 years of membership, Belfour Property Restoration, Country Bank, Flying Dreams Brewing, Mathnasium of Northborough, Vital Payroll Advisors, Work Central. Celebrating 10 years as a member, Cornerstone Bank, Great Wolf Lodge, New England, Nichols College, Smoot Architecture and Urban Design, STEM Beginnings. Celebrating 15 years as a member, Arturo's Restaurante. Celebrating 20 years as a member, American Alum, Berkshire Bank, Cyprian Keys Golf Club, Shrewsbury Federal Credit Union, Southwicks Zoo, and the town of Westboro. Celebrating 30 years as a member, Mumford's Flower Shop. And celebrating 45 years as a member of this chamber, I've been around 44, Avidia Bank. Let's all give them a big round. Membership commitment to our organization, and I ask at the end and completion of our program, you will meet me over in the corner with our photographer. It'll be our pleasure to present you with an award, to take your photos.
So besides a membership, we also have a leadership award for 10 years as the president of the chamber. So we just want to give this.
About this chamber, there's always full of surprises. Thank you. I didn't even know it was 10 years until my LinkedIn told me it was 10 years. And all my members told me it was 10 years. Thank you for the generosity of these beautiful flowers. It has been really my great pleasure and honor to be with this chamber for the past 10 years as your president. Thank you for being such wonderful, generous stakeholders of this organization. Since this event is about recognition, I'd like to take 1 minute to express my appreciation, actually again, to all of you, our members and our hardworking volunteers, our ambassadors and our board of directors for your gracious and generous support that contributes to the success of this organization. You're the reason we are Chamber Strong. And I thank you all for your unwavering commitment and support. You all deserve a round of applause. Also, I want to take this opportunity to recognize my incredible, hardworking, talented Chamber team. Carlene Covino, please stand, the Chamber's Director of Public Events. Relations Coordinator. I am so grateful and proud of the significant contributions you make to the success of this chamber, and I thank you for making it a complete joy for me to work with you every day. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm so proud of you and so glad you're on my team. And finally, I want to personally thank Steve Roach, who has served as this chair of our chamber for his tremendous leadership this past year. We've had some wonderful conversations. We've had some interesting phone calls. But most of all, his guidance and his strategic vision has been such an asset to me in this organization. And I want to invite you back to the podium to present your final remarks as the outgoing chair of the Quarter 9 Chamber.
Well, this will be bittersweet, but it'll also be pretty short because I don't like to follow script. When I talk about myself and what it has been an honor to serve this, the Quarter 9 495 Regional Chamber. I have a lot of friends in this room, a lot of great times at the events that we've had. A lot of those events have been during the middle of the day, so best of luck to you, Dave. But it is a wonderful group. It was a great time, and it was definitely a pleasure to serve under my term, and I will miss everybody here. I'm not going very far, but I will be around at the golf tournament next week, and then we'll go from there. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of you as the membership, because the chamber can't work without all of you supporting it. So we wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate everybody for their support. So thank you.
As the nominating committee chair of the chamber, it is my pleasure to announce the chamber held its election on June 6th and voted to approve your 2024-25 officers and directors of the chamber. In the interest of time, and you'll be really pleased about this, we are not going to announce all of their names. In the program flyer at your tables, we have provided a complete list of the board. During the election, there were 3 chamber members elected as new directors to serve on the board for 1-year term, and they are Jeff LaRoe, President, Donegan Systems, Greg Union, Executive Director, Salmon Health and Retirement, and Will Oliveira, President, Cole Harbor Brewing, who was unable to join us today. At this time, I ask that all officers and directors of the board please stand to be recognized. Congratulations and thank you for volunteering your leadership and expertise to the chamber. It's now my pleasure to introduce your newly elected chair of the Quarter 9 495 Regional Chamber, Dave Kaiser, Senior Vice President of Retail Services for Central One Federal Credit Union. Dave.
Thank you, Pam, and good morning, everyone, as your newly elected monarch. But actually, thank you for the crown, but I'll take it off for now. Well, it's nice to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. And I first want to start off by saying, first and foremost, thank you and great recognition to the board and the leadership of the chamber for all their efforts this year. And thank you for having your faith in me. Because when I joined the chamber many years ago, I certainly never thought I'd be standing here as your incoming chair. But it is truly an honor, and I look forward to working with Karen and her team, the executive committee, the board, to continue delivering the exceptional quantity and quality of programming that this chamber has come to be known for in serving its members and the local business community. It's just been outstanding. I do want to tell you, though, that as of 4 weeks ago, I wasn't supposed to be standing here. So I'd like to tell you a little story about how that came to be. Basically, I think it was May 20th, I reached out to Karen and I said, hey Karen, I'm going to be on vacation. I'm sorry I can't make the executive committee, which was scheduled on May 22nd, and I went on my vacation. A few days later, on May 23rd, as my wife and I were sipping cocktails down in Florida, I got a text message, and I looked down and it was from Karen. It reminded me that, wow, the last time I was on vacation and Karen reached out to me, it was to let me know I had won $1,000 at the Snowball Raffle. What possible great thing could possibly be happening to me this time, right? Well, you know the old saying about don't show up late to meetings, don't miss meetings, you may get voted. Well, my friends, this is how I What can we say? Anyways, so that's how I came to be here, but I honestly, kidding aside, it truly is an honor. But I do want to talk a little bit about that concept of showing up and what can happen when you do or don't, right? I know that we have some prospective members here, we have some newer members, and maybe some members who've been here with the Chamber for a while and are still looking for that secret sauce as to how to get the most value out of your membership. Well, over the last 35 years, I certainly have belonged to this chamber and other chambers, and I've learned a few things I want to share with you. The first lesson that I learned was that even though all of those chambers are good people doing good things for their business communities, this chamber, Quarter 9, is absolutely, in my opinion, the best chamber in our region. It is the most energetic, it's the most impactful. The quantity and quality of the programming is expansive. I've never seen, I don't know how you guys do it year in and year out, the number of opportunities they present to us for us to do our jobs of going forth and fostering for our businesses and advancing our growth goals as business owners and managers. So it's an exceptional situation. Morning, noon, night, any calendar, any schedule that you have as a business person, you can attend something with this chamber. So there's no excuses not to attend, right? The second thing I've learned is you gotta show up. If you join in the chamber and you're just checking the box, guess what? You're probably not gonna be here in a few years because you're gonna find that there's no value. Well, you gotta make the value. You gotta show up. That's 50% of the game. That's 50% of any success in life. You gotta show up. You gotta play to win, right? So that's the other thing I've learned. But beyond just showing up, you've got to be prepared to enthusiastically engage with people and share with them the value that you and your organization brings to others. Because if you show up and you don't participate, you don't get engaged, it doesn't happen. That's the second part of that whole formula. So show up. I'm preaching to the choir right now. You're all here, right? So you showed up today, but hopefully engage. And I do realize there are some folks in this room who are not as comfortable engaging as others. And you have two choices. You either got to figure out how to get good at engaging, or you need to get someone within your organization who is good at engaging and get them to show up for you. Because if you don't, just like anything else in our lives that's painful, you're going to avoid the pain and you're not going to show up. So that's the formula, that's the secret. Show up and get engaged. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing and meeting and engaging with all of you over the next 12 months. And now for my first official duty as your chair, I have the pleasure of recognizing Steve Roach for his outstanding leadership this past year. So Steve, if you wouldn't mind coming back up again. Thought you were done. And, here we go. All right. Now, Steve, good to have you here. I am very pleased to share with everybody here, with you, that 2024 is the 45th anniversary of the Chamber, and it's a great milestone, and because of your great leadership, the time the energy, your expertise, your commitment, we have been able together as an organization to achieve great success in a lot of good things. We've been able to continue pushing forth the mission of this chamber, which is to really help promote and advance the needs and concerns and issues of the local business community. And it is my distinct pleasure and honor to, on behalf of the membership, present you with this small token of our appreciation for your outstanding leadership. So thank you, sir. That's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Karen.
We have the last final piece of business, and we're going to conclude our program. I'm going to ask the Board of Directors to join me here in front of our stage. Board of Directors, officers. I'm excited to announce on April 25, 2024, the officers and directors of the board voted to rebrand and change the name of this chamber. And for the first time, we are unveiling our new name and logo with all of you. The chamber has not merged with any other entity. The decision to rebrand was based on the following. The chamber has entered a new chapter as the largest chamber of commerce in the Metro West region with over 500 members. Our member businesses now hail from 67 towns and cities, from Worcester to Boston and Rhode Island. While we are grounded in the Route 9 495 region, the rebrand recognizes our 45 years of growth and further strengthens the relationships with all the businesses we serve in the Metro West region. And with our rebranding, the Chamber aims to enhance our engagement with existing members while attracting new businesses and entrepreneurs to join our organization by remaining committed to providing advocacy and valuable networking opportunities, diverse business groups, educational opportunities, and a platform for business growth. The official announcement of our rebranding is now being forwarded to our entire membership while we're all here and the media. Over the next couple of weeks, we will be updating our website and printed collateral reflecting our new name and logo. But it is now with great pride that the board presents to you our new name and our logos, and start unraveling that, as the Quarter 9 495 Metro West Chamber of Commerce. And if I have anything to do with it, the next 10 years, I'm still here, in the next 10 years, we will be the Quarter 9 495 Chamber of the Commonwealth. How about that? This concludes our program. I'm going to invite all the award recipients and our milestone members to join me in the corner for photos. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you very soon.